All right, hello everybody. What we will be doing today is the point and line exercise. So you see a sample here. It's in progress. It's halfway done. So I'm going to explain in this video how you are going to do the point and line exercise. So the first thing you need is you need your sketchbooks and you need it opened up and turn to landscape orientation. So here's a sample of landscape orientation. It's going left to right. You're also going to need a Sharpie pen. That's because our first project is going to be done in pen. And so we want to get as much practice using the Sharpie marker as we can before we actually do the project. So we've mastered the utensil, mastered the medium, and practiced with it before we execute into the final draft. So this Sharpie marker is an ultra fine tip to get some really fine lines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on the left-hand side in the center of the page, and I'm going to begin by drawing a extremely curvy line. Now it does not have to look exactly like mine. You just want to make sure that it's a curvy line that's nice and smooth, one straight line all the way from the left to the right. So I drew one smooth curved line all the way from left to right. Like I said, it doesn't have to look exactly like this. It can be your own movements and curves. Now, after you've drawn that curved line, you're going to go back with your Sharpie. You're going to go underneath that first line, and you're going to basically retrace the direction of that line. You're going to try to make this line, the second one, as smooth as you can. You don't want it to be all scratchy and choppy and rough looking. You want it to be nice and smooth. You might have to pick up your pen so that you can change the direction of your wrist. You want to stay as close as you possibly can to that first initial line. Some cases it may touch, and that's okay. So you're going to, in a nice smooth stroke, retrace the direction of that first curved line. Now at first, it might be really wobbly, really shaky, and that's okay. Because what we're trying to do with this exercise is we are trying to practice and master line control. In your artwork, you want to try to have nice, clean, controlled line work. You don't want all of your drawings to be very sketchy and rough, because then a lot of your artwork is going to look sketchy and rough. You know, sketchy lines are okay, especially if it's your style and especially when you're drawing quickly in your sketchbook. But sometimes once it comes to an actual final result product, you really want it to be nice and clean and crisp. So that's why we're practicing line control here. So I've drawn that one line all the way to the right-hand side. It's a nice smooth line, okay? That's retracing that first initial line. And I've tried to stay as close as I possibly can to that first initial line. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it again. I'm going to go underneath that second line and retrace that line again. Staying as close as I can to that first and second line. Some cases it might touch, but really just trying to stay as close as you can. You don't want to have a lot of distance. You want to keep those lines nice and tight and close. You want to maintain that control, keeping that nice, smooth line work. So we're really exercising here our fine motor skills. Now there is some cases you'll notice of some bleeding like we have here where the ink, I've left the pen down too long so it leaves like an ink blot. So over time I'm going to want to work on that and have a smoother transition when I pick and lift up the pen so I don't leave so many ink blots, and start cleaning up my line work. So, you know, like I said, it might be really scratchy at first, kind of rough. My lines might be a little bit wobbly, and that's okay. Hopefully, you know, as you go through this exercise and you continue to draw these lines, you start to gain really good control of the tool and of your lines. Okay, so I did it again. Now I'm going to go ahead and go underneath that line again and retrace it again. You know, some of you are huffing and puffing already, like, oh my gosh, another one? Yeah, another one. We're going to fill up this entire paper with these lines. And part of that is so we can start to build our focus. You know, a lot of the projects we will be doing in this class are going to take 2, 3, 4, 6 weeks. Artwork is not always created in one day in a 150-minute period. A lot of artwork takes long periods of time. Some people spend decades working on paintings. And we in this class, when we get to final projects, we'll be spending quite a bit of time on it. So with this exercise, what we're doing, besides building our fine motor skills, besides building and working on line control, is we're trying to build up our focus and our endurance to be able to focus and work on a project for long periods of time. And it doesn't happen in just one day. It does take patience to be able to sit down and work on something for a long period of time and to not get bored with it or to not get sick of looking at it. So I'm going to continue to add to this. Maybe I don't want to do underneath. I'm going to go above and add to it, keeping those lines nice and smooth and as controlled as I possibly can as I go in and draw and retrace the direction of this first curved line. So nice and smooth, lifting the pen when I need to, not rushing it, because when I start to rush and go quickly because I'm tired of drawing the lines already, that's when I start to make mistakes and my work starts to look a little bit sloppy. So you don't want to rush it. Take your time. We're going to be here all day. Okay. What you start noticing is that the lines are starting to collide together. Okay. So how do we approach this and what do I want you to do? So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to retrace the line again, trying to keep my line nice and smooth and controlled. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue tracing in there. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to overlap and draw right on top of that line here and fill in this space. So I don't want to have any white space here. The entire thing is going to be lines. Then I'm going to come back out, retrace on top of that line, overlap on it, come in, fill this space in, come back down. Because like I said, you want to keep them as close as possible and they might even touch. So I'm going to come in here. Now this one is already closed up, so I'm just going to come in here, bounce back out. Come in here, overlap that first line, touch that line, come in, fill in this interior space. Hit that line, come back out. Okay, come in here, overlap, fill in that interior space. Come back out, fill in the space, overlap that line. And what it'll do is it's going to start to add a lot of contrast and dimension to this drawing. Retrace this line, stay as close as possible. Fill in this interior space. Okay, and you're going to keep doing that and repeating those lines throughout the entire exercise till the entire page down below, entire page up top is filled in with this point and line exercise.